Hey everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and I have a super cool artist in the house, Candice Alexander from Lake Charles, Louisiana. She was voted the Southwest Louisiana's best artist, and she's had this prolific 20-year career. So welcome, Candice. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
I was curious, are you born and raised in Louisiana? How long have you been out there?
I was born in Jennings, Louisiana, and I've traveled, but my roots are really north of Jennings, Louisiana, in the country on a little bayou road, old Indian Trail, in a village.
Was art always a part of your life? I mean, you're such a prolific artist now. Was it something that was always kind of spilling out of you, or did that kind of come over time?
Art was always, it was probably always my favorite, you know, outlet as a kid, but I never had art growing up in school. I went to a really small school and I always was doing art, in my on my bed and melting colors in the crayon and setting the microwave on fire when I melted the silver colors and like stuff like that. But 4-H, I was always active in 4-H and in things in school, which even if it wasn't art, to me it was the building of the successful part of the business, like public speaking and photography, record keeping, and all of these skills that I would need as an artist that maybe an artist doesn't really or aren't even aware of.
Yeah, yeah. So at what point did you kind of decide this is it? This is my passion and I want to take this to the next level and actually make this happen?
When I was younger, I have some of my I have all of my report cards in this little book called My School Years, and I went back the other day and I wanted to be a teacher, and then there was years when I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I wanted to be an artist. And so when I was 11, they were filming a movie in my hometown, my dad's hometown of Lake Arthur, very small town, called Passion Fish, and I met an artist at a Cajun restaurant one night, and she was 22 or 23 and I was 11, and I'm like, wow, this is a real artist, like, and and I and so that really stuck with me, and I'm like, it was possible that there was a person doing this, and she was painting like the backdrop to this movie, even though I didn't, like, in my head, like, I saw what she may have been doing, and I'm like, wow. And she kept in touch with me for um 10 years,
Are you
and
serious? That is so
she,
cool.
her name was Yvette Ward, and she sent me, her some of her drawings and some of her old paintbrushes and a Gray's Anatomy book, and a study of this iris and just all kind of stuff. I'd get a box of just pastels, her old
That
stuff.
is so cool.
Yeah,
That was no coincidence that you met her.
yeah,
That's
and
it.
I never had art, and so that kind of sealed the deal with me. And she was really my mentor, and kind of inspiring me to know that you can actually make a living just expression. And she was doing it in a movie, and I'm like, wow, she that's and it was a very small movie. It wasn't a Terminator sort of,
Right.
but for me it was like the number one. It
But
was a
she
big,
was still doing this in a professional way and making a living as an
right.
artist. And I think it maybe planted a seed like, wow, this is possible. I think so many times people have these dreams for their lives or they don't even know where they're going in their life. And to see it actually being played out and know that it's possible gets you to kind of open up and embrace it more as a possibility for yourself.
Yeah. And the older I got, well, especially when I reconnected with her 10 years later, I realized, she was sort of into that. She must have been into that, staying true to herself with being an artist, and
Yeah.
it was a seed that was planted. It was a huge one. You know, um,
So for a while, in the early days, it was you and your van traveling around. I think you had like a portable printer or something,
printing press.
a print press in your
Right.
van.
Now, actually, last night, now I have this little HP 4x6 sort of oversized Polaroid. That is a new tool that I can plug into my Jeep. It's compact. And then, like if I want to do this kid's book based on this beautiful beetle. And now it's like I can print these references out and it's like it's a whole new thing now. And
when I talk to you, I feel so much like, I feel like you're always just kind of pouring from the overflow. I feel your energy is just so magnificent and full. And I think there's something about being able to just stay in your lane and be true to yourself every day.
Yeah, well, that's had to come, if that's what you're feeling, that's had to come with the dying part too, like the hard parts, the growth. If I would have never been in this, whatever this electromagnetic energy, whatever you're feeling, I was not there, especially after the hurricane and even months after it. I mean, this is, I've been doing a lot of meditation, a lot for the last 7-8 months. And, now it's like, I look back and it's like, wait a minute, this is really, now it's like, it's almost clicked of, I'm going back to my van. I'm going back to the roots. I'm going, you were telling me that you go to manifest and there's really nothing you want. And it's like, that's kind of where I'm at. I figured out, it took me an hour to figure out how to get this owl feather the other day. And all I wanted was a feather, to sketch it. It's like, and so I taped up these pencils and I made a stick because that's all I had. And I put a wad of tape on the end of these pencils and I stuck it down where I couldn't reach. And I got this feather. And
you were able to get it?
Yeah. And on the way home, like I sketched it and, wow, it was like they didn't sell that in the gift shop,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sort of thing.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. And I think a lot of times becoming true to ourselves is a process because we have to figure out who we are. And that comes from peeling just layer after layer after layer away, it's a painful process when you go deep and when you really get in there and excavate all that stuff inside.
Yeah, and I feel like not just about me, but I feel like 2020, even though it's been the hardest year, I think it's just given people a lot of opportunity to really sit with themselves and
100%
collective like change of you have no control over it. So what are you going to do? And during that time, like I lost all my festivals, which is my main bread and butter. I mean, I've been doing festivals for 20 years,
Yeah, gosh.
Hard for the last 12 to 15, really hard hustling. And I was getting to a point where it's like, I really want to, I don't know if I want to do all this festival stuff. And I really enjoyed it because I love my clients, but the coronavirus stopped that. And I thought I was like, oh my God.
Kind of like a forced pivot.
And I'm like, God, thank God I've been smart. Now I just need to just be. And then the hurricanes hit and I'm like, double whammy,
Oh my gosh. Not only one, but two back.
I went from three. There was Hurricane Laura, which completely destroyed my whole town.
Oh my gosh. Obliterated your studio. Like that was so heartbreaking.
It obliterated my studio. And then it took me a week to catch my head and say, Candice, you were lucky. You were lucky your paintings were just flying down the blocks. And then Delta came. So I'm like, oh, I'm packing everything that I just made just a few sales on for this hurricane piece. And I'm taking my printers, I'm taking my boards, I'm taking my tape and my drills and my hammer. And I packed very compressed and I went to Mississippi. Happened again. I set up in a fishing shed.
That was like within 2 weeks too. I mean, it was literally like weeks.
I ran from Delta and then Zeta wiped me out there.
Zeta's like, I'm coming after you.
Oh, she did. And so the second hurricane piece was made in a fishing shed that was wiped out from Zeta. Nobody even talks about Zeta over here. And it's almost like I took it personal. I'm like, I think they're following me.
You had just kind of were getting kind of settled. I remember you had videoed What was really powerful about the whole experience was you were so authentic and so transparent in your just processing of all your feelings and everything as you were navigating just
Yeah,
everything,
I was very
everything about the recovery and then consequent destruction. You were so transparent, and I would watch your videos and be like, wow, she keeps getting up every day and just being in it, just
Oh,
going
it was
through
the
a
most
lot.
hardest thing. Like it was the most hardest thing I've ever done in my life. You know, it went from having an oasis from the coronavirus, COVID shit, to building an oasis in a garden and a butterfly garden, and then the hurricane just completely tearing down every tree, every cardinal nest, every fence, everything, and to like here, wow.
You like look around and you're like, what do I even do with this?
Yes, like I don't know how many times I just walked around and sang like all I remember saying was like, "Oh my god," and I didn't even, like I'm so into music and frequencies and stuff like that, and music never even crossed my mind or my psyche that even music was existed. I sat just staring into my backyard for like 8 or 9 days, and I probably lost a pound every day. And then I'd go to my studio, and people were like, "What do you want us to do?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" Like my journal pages flew everywhere, and and it's not necessarily, it didn't become about like, oh, Candice's art studio, but it became like my soul was tossed around. It's different than shingles, of a roof.
Yeah, you'd put so much of your energy and yourself into that space, into every piece of art, every single thing that you had kind of built and created in that space was just, I don't think people realize how obliterated Lake Charles was from Hurricane Laura. They had that sensational, news footage for a minute, and then they're gone. But people were out of water, power, just basic essentials for weeks,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like even
They
the street signs, they said the mayor came on and said, or sheriff, and said, "Don't drive at night. There are no markers and there are no street signs. You will get lost."
well, and that's another thing. Like my friend, I mean, I didn't even know I had to use um a pathway that I made in a Jeep, and it was like, oh, God, thank God I have a Jeep. I wrecked my Jeep. At one time, I had like 3 or 4 insurance claims. Um, so it was just, man, it was so hard living on a generator. It
Glad
was
you had a generator.
so hard.
Did you evacuate ahead of the storm?
Yeah, I
Someone
did.
stayed in your house though, right?
Yeah, I have a 12-inch house, 12-inch thick house that goes 3 feet in the ground that everybody from the neighborhood evacuated in the 60s. My house was built in the 20s, and it was built by an architect, brick mason, whose wife was deathly afraid of hurricanes. They had survived, I think, in Galveston or Audrey, or I don't remember the history, but so it was solid. And I had somebody stay in my house that lived in a trailer, and I knew I had left a key. I was prepared to stay, or I was prepared to go. And so
Mhm.
I knew that if someone stayed, I had water ready, I had rations ready, I had battery backups ready, I had a key hidden, I had a Jeep. I left my Jeep, I left my key to my Jeep. And sure enough, my neighbor's 2-story house, huge house, like 4 or 5,000 square feet. They're in the eye of the storm. We were on Zello, and I'm like, y'all need to get over there. This is the eye. And they said they went to my house in the eye of the storm because the bones of that house was rattling in the eye, which was hardly no wind at all.
Oh my God.
And
Well,
yeah,
they made it to your place.
yeah, like they said, siding was flying everywhere. And the
Oh my,
guy in here was like, couldn't hear nothing. It's a pretty solid house. I'm like, dude, you are crazy. Like this, I would be so freaked out.
wait a minute. Don't you have chickens? Did you take your chickens to Mississippi too?
I packed them in that RV.
Oh my gosh.
I put them all. I put them in. See, I had a couple too many roosters. I packed them too, and I left one here. He's the only one I have left. Long story short, I'm like, you're a bastard. You're mean. you're a bully to the other roosters. You want to attack the hens, and he has got 5 hens now. He's survived the storm. He's beautiful. He digs holes. He lets them eat the worms first. But I do have
What?
chickens.
The storm changed him. He lets them
He
eat
was on his
worms
own.
first?
He was on his own. And then I had my brother keep my chickens in the country, and then the water rose on the bayou, and he brought the chickens to the neighbors, and the panther got my chickens, and here I am with this.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
It's been tough, man.
It has been crazy.
All my fence got knocked down. My ducks survived for 3.5 months, and then something ate my ducks because I didn't have a perimeter. But yeah, I packed up those chickens, my babies, and I packed them in 2 different cages and put them in the RV with the blue tarp on the table area of the RV. I put the table down, and they came with me, and I packed 4 outdoor cats that they rescued me.
I'm amazed you're able to catch those cats.
Well, I caught them all but one. Like, baby, you on your own, you and that rooster. No, I'm gone. And I didn't have any chance to like take anything from my studio. I took nothing. I moved my newspaper articles to a higher floor above my studio, and my whole life, like what part of your life that's all out do you
To
take?
see all that just strewn all over must have been heart-wrenching when you pulled up, and I can't imagine just the shock. Were you just in shock? Like you just don't even know where to
like
begin?
just like all I said was, oh my God, like, oh my God. And then I got out of that, oh my God, my stuff to like, oh my God, everybody, oh my God.
Like the whole community.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just, no one really knew. It really, it changed a lot. And, there were people coming in my studio after I released the first piece that I had no idea people would embrace so hard. And they would just come in so happy, and I'd talk to them, and they were like, I had to have this piece, but I don't even have a house to put it in, so I'm going to just put it in my storage unit. And I'm like,
that's so powerful, Candice.
Over and over and over, these people that I would think like, oh, their house must have been good, and they're like, we're living in a camper, so I don't know where I'm going to put this piece of art from you, but I had to have it. And I'm like,
wow, that is so amazing. I swear that through art you heal, like through music. It's just something that they can't take from you. I think you said it, like, they can't take this from me.
No.
And you'll always have inside, and you'll always be creating, and something that's all yours.
Before we had electricity, I was asked by McDonald's, like, can you paint us a banner? Because nobody had, print shops didn't have,
Right.
so all I had was this, my hand.
Right.
And got in my studio, and it was glass everywhere, and I just scooted out a spot, and I rolled out this white banner, and I painted this banner, and I'm like, this is crazy, and I decided to do the hurricane piece because I was really like, what, I've got to do something. So I went back to the only thing that has really saved me. Like musicians, music saves them. They have to do it to survive. And designed this very fast hurricane piece simply because, for the same reason I did a Mardi Gras piece. It's like, there's no Mardi Gras, but I can't just let time go by and not do a monumental historical homage to it, and that's what I did. And in 10 minutes I started looking up how Lake Charles was, and I was like, oh, the statue fell, and oh, every window blew out, and oh my God, this. And I just started, in 10 minutes I collaged this thing, and I never released it. I carried it around. I stayed in my RV. I looked at it. I didn't like it. It was just like, whatever, I'm just doing it. And it didn't really mean much to me. And
was this your hope? Was this the hope piece that you named Hope?
Hope. And I had none when I did it. So I decided to release it. I got a little bit stronger. 20 something days passed. I think I released it 3 weeks after the hurricane, right when I got electricity. We were trying to check emails and stuff on generators, and the generator would flip, and oh my God, 300 feet of power cords everywhere. And it was just terrible, like no food, eating FEMA food, and
God.
we need ice now. It was so tough.
You're just trying to survive, right? It's just like day-to-day survival.
Yeah, and so, on the side, I had my friend the art there, and I released it, and I'm like, guys, I'm only going to do 100 of these. And I was hoping to maybe sell 10, because nobody who's interested in art, everybody's world's upside down.
Yeah.
And the first day we sat there, and I sent out a text to connect to my clients. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. This is what I've been doing. And I was transparent on my videos. And we looked on the back end of the website, and the website was like, there was 1,000 people all over the country on my website just having to have this. And the edition went from 100 to 100 of each size very quickly. And I was like, wow, this is
Powerful.
I don't really know how to explain it. People had to
It's
have
something, I think it was something that resonated with people so much. People have to have something to hope and hold on to in times of chaos and struggle. And
well, and all that goes back to like this art and this heart energy that now it's like the depths that I want to explore. Like, I used to think it was from my brain to the hand to the paper. Well, now I realize it's from my heart to my brain to my hand to my paper.
right.
And now I'm understanding why it resonated with people, and why people need to have that, and how art does connect. And now it's really contagious for me to stay true to that, because
Yeah. What's also cool is you had a good friend named, I think his name's Rodney, right?
mm-hmm.
That you were trying to help prior to all this happening,
get
more stable housing. He's been
get water. It's all I wanted to do was get this man water.
He had no running water for ever, I guess. I don't know, somehow.
Decade,
Right. So you're trying to get him something. I'm gonna let you tell the story and how it tied into your hope release.
Yeah, so I've been having this friend for 3 years who brings a baby stroller here and there down the street. I have a studio downtown, and he'd buy me, he'd find junk on the side of the street, and then he started to learn what kind of junk, like, I assemble in some of my art. And I'd pay him for his junk, and he'd always want to buy a Coke for me, and I'm like, boy, get out of here, And so we became really good, we became really good friends. And long story short, like, I just kind of started to be curious about, his well-being. And, he seemed very loyal to me. And I realized he didn't have water. I'm like, well, I'm going to go to the water department, get this thing turned on, and get it drafted for him. What's 40, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, $100 a month.
Right.
When I'm so blessed just to help somebody out have water. He was flushing his toilet with rainwater. And very quickly, I've realized how he's been without. And then I met somebody at the one of the city departments here, and became just really curious. And she's now my manager, which is kind of how God put all that together. And then the hurricanes hit, and then it stalled the stuff with Rodney. And I've helped him get his stimulus check then, but there's still a bunch of roadblocks with the legalities and the property and the easement and the succession with the family, and with a culture that has kind of been oppressed, if I'm not coming off too odd about that. But and there's many more like him. So and my thing is, if you can help one person, then, but God, it's just been hard doing that, because it's with all the things that have been going on.
So where's he at now, and what's his situation now? Were you able to get him something like more stable, a living situation? Or
he's piggybacking water and electricity from the neighbor. We were doing an active donation from his family, but the property now floods. He doesn't want to leave there, so we're kind of just like, I'm helping him pay his cell phone bill. I'm getting him his stimulus checks. But as far as the permitting and stuff, it's kind of on hold, because we can't get a permit because he's not on the 911 map. He's not on the 911 map because it's just, we can go in a circle all day.
You know what? All you can do is what you can do.
Yes,
and that's enough. It's enough, and life has a way of just organically working out the way it's supposed to. He's in a better circumstance than when you started this process, right?
I guess, yeah.
Kind of, sort of. So
he's at least getting, like, he's in the system now. This guy was never even in the system for any even assistance. It's like,
Yeah. I mean, just for him to get the stimulus check and stuff, that's huge.
Well, and I didn't get one, and then I realized like how damn difficult it is to even get in the system, to even have the no, I mean you have to have a computer, you have to have
Right.
an email, you have to have a password, you have to have some sort of know how to maneuver in a technological world that some people just don't have never
No,
had.
they don't have access to, they don't have the resources, and there are many out there. It must have been so eye-opening, right, when you started this
But one
process.
of the city officials was like, Candice, you'd be surprised at how many people are living in the same situation that don't have anybody to help them. And it's really like, God, you know. But
You know what I've come to? I've had a life of service. I have had a life of just being in service all the time to others. And I kind of got to a point where I realized that you can only do what you can do.
right,
And I have to be okay with that. And then there also comes a point where you have to start pouring that energy into yourself, because if
right.
you're constantly giving, you become so depleted, you're no good to anyone, you
Yeah,
know?
I'm kind of good at that.
Yeah.
So
You
all I
know what
want,
was amazing too was seeing how people kind of, you are so loved. You are so loved by your community. That must have touched you so much. And so many people came and helped you sweep up and just put
too many almost like, whoa,
cords
God,
up on
I
your,
don't like. I'm trying to be a leader here, but I'm broken, and I don't know what I need y'all to do. But they would just deal with they. I have great clients. I have really great.
I mean, you built that community, you know, you touched them all with your work, and here they are. They all came, and they're all going through their own traumas too. They've all got their homes destroyed too. So to have that many people showing up for you
Worse, yes, crazy. It's
must have been so humbling, you know, to
what I
just
was gonna say.
accept it.
So many people just came in so happy, and then got the art, and then a tear fell, and they were like, "Yeah, my whole house is gone, but I had to have this." And I'm like, it beautiful. Like how
What a
lucky am I?
gift. What
Yeah,
a gift to have that offering. And then not only through that offering, but to have that human connection with every single person who came and talked to you during that time, you know?
yeah. And I mean, I've always been like my grandma's always remind me, God can give it and He can take it away all in the same time. So it's like I just kind of try to live my life with, you know, always, disallowing like foolishness and always trying to see, like, have foresight into listening to intuition and just doing the right thing, and for me it's through art. And I think the older I've gotten and the more comfortable I've kind of gotten with my career into being selective into where I want to put my energy, I think the best is maybe yet to come.
100%, 100%. I think too, sometimes when you lose everything, it almost clears a path. You know, it clears everything and it's very devastating, but it's also clearing and opening a way for new things to come in, new ideas, new directions, new um, opportunities.
Yeah, well, I didn't lose everything, but man, it felt like I lost more than everything, but I still have a lot of stuff, and it's just like it just felt so scattered for so long. It's like, where do you even, fixing a couple water hoses could take a few hours. There's so many water hose projects. You know what I'm saying? Like projects like that it's like, it's never ending, and the coronavirus kind of let everybody just settle and get really relaxed, and we're gonna, and then boom, for us here and the whole span of where the hurricane hit, it just really completely did a 180, because now everything that was peaceful is totally opposite. And it's like this, it's just crazy, and
Yeah.
it's really tough.
How's it now out there? What's the status out there?
Um, like I said when we first got on, I feel like I'm kind of, I got some knee pads in the mail today from Amazon. I ordered some knee pads. I'm very, it's like, how is it now? It's like, okay, we're gonna keep going. And like the analogy is like the knee pads. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna start wearing knee pads when I go climbing rocks because I want to be very cautious. So people are standing up. There's constant rebuilding. I mean, at night I hear hammers. At night, people are working. You still look
Yeah.
around. There's blue tarps. There's still blue tarps everywhere. I got on an airplane last week, and there's from the air there's still just blue tarps everywhere. And here it
Isn't
is.
it incredible? The human spirit is so resilient.
Yeah.
You just come back from the
Or you
darkest.
die. You come back or you die.
Yeah, I guess.
And I
Yeah.
feel like through this I've lived and I've died. I've experienced life and I've experienced a death.
I think every time we grow, there's a part of us that dies,
Yeah, and it's
It's hard.
it. My friend used to say, "Candice, this is gonna make you stronger," and I'm like, "But I want it now."
Yeah.
That you just can't. You just
Yeah,
can't. I
you
mean,
can't rush the
you can't force
process,
a
that's
plant
for
to
sure.
grow. You can't force a flower after you plant the seed.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to allow it to just organically bloom in its own time. How are
Mm.
the kids? How are they? They've had a lot of stuff going on. Moving. They went to Mississippi. Did they come back to Lake Charles or?
Yeah, I haven't. They're doing well. I haven't seen them in a while.
Mhm.
But they all the kids are have been just shuffled around. I mean, it started before the hurricanes with the COVID being out of school for over half a year. So um, yeah, homeschooling and
Homeschool. I mean, there's been so much. I think almost everything has changed. The way people interact, the way we go out in public, we're all masked. Having more time,
social gatherings, church, funerals.
everything, right, has kind of gone to Zoom or
Well, I can't even see my grandmother. She's in a veterans home right now, and her husband just died, and it's like I can't even. I've got to
go and
go and
comfort
get
her.
tested. I've got to get tested, even if I want to spend 30 minutes with her. And it's like, man, is this how my last time with my grandmother's going to be? And I called, I left her some art supplies. I'm trying to. She's very artsy, and I brought her some watercolors and stuff, and I left it at the front desk. And I'm like, ma'am, can I tell my grandmother hi through the window? And she was like, no, ma'am. And I was
Are you serious? Not even through the window?
like, okay, bye. I'm like, Mama, where are you at? What you looking at? She's like, I'm looking at that white fence right here. I'm like, walk to the glass door, please. And it's like that's the world. It's
Wow.
and I feel like it's like I've been kind of flying under the radar. There's so many crazy things going on. People are just you can't spend time with your loved ones, and I've kind of felt like I've been like kind of like ducking, and then it's like, up, it's my turn now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really hard for people who are older because they're so isolated, especially if they don't have a spouse to talk to and have physical contact or even have someone hold your hand or give you a hug or
Right.
I think that lack of physical connection has been so hard on so many people. Even single people who live alone, they're not going out like they used to or interacting with friends. It's really changing the fabric of our lives completely.
Right. Right. And as odd as it may be a change, I mean, I think if we can sort of embrace it, um, it's like a spiritual collective that it could be a shift that we may not be aware of, just like we don't know if we're getting stronger, but we really are. So, um, I feel like lately, if you are from this area, the hurricane really like put a bunch more on top of the change. Um, but it really made people, you know, kind of look within. And for me, I'm so thankful that I've had my art. I
Art's
mean,
huge. Also, meditation.
yeah.
Meditation's really powerful because it brings you back in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're centered and grounded, there can be chaos all around you, but you always have that
Right.
stability and presence. So you become kind of the eye of the storm when
Yeah.
you
It
can
helps in
get to that
tennis too.
space. What?
It helps in tennis too. I was thinking I play a lot of tennis.
Oh, awesome.
I would play every day. Like one of my friends, we were talking last night, and it was like, if you could change your career, what would you do? And I'm like, I'd probably be a tennis player.
You'd be awesome. Awesome pro tennis player slash artist.
Yeah,
Artist slash tennis player.
I don't know. My grandma's like, oh, you're a tennis pro. I'm like, Mama, don't ever call me a tennis pro. Those are 5.0 rating words. Just leave the pro out of it, please. Like, I love it. I love the sport. It's a mental challenge, and I wonder if the pros meditate. Like, that's.
I saw that I can't remember when it was. I don't know if it was 2019 or 2020. You did a Mardi Gras art piece and you were able to go to Washington, D.C.
I was. It was a week before the COVID came out. That's
So
right.
that was just last year then, 2020.
That's right, January. I was actually in my Airbnb. We had probably just danced next to the governor and all the politicians and had this huge Mardi Gras, Louisiana, DC, the biggest Mardi Gras in the
That
country.
must have been incredible to attend and
God.
also provide art for.
Right. I mean, it was the last one to date. I did the last Mardi Gras celebration to date. It's kind of how I'm thinking about it. But, and I did it through the congressman and they asked me to do this. And I was there and I remember sitting in the Airbnb and Kobe Bryant had died right around that time. And it was like, oh, first case of COVID in China. And, oh, the McDonald's commercial comes on. It was just a normal day. And I think that was, I saw something on someone's post last night. It was like in a week, it'll be a year since life changed or something. I think it was weird. But yeah, I was in DC doing the official Mardi Gras for the Crew de Mystique of Louisiana, one of the biggest, most honorable probably times of my life.
That must have been incredible to be asked.
Yeah.
And then to be invited to go to an event of that
Yeah.
nature, just so cool.
Well, and it's kind of like when I did the piece for Keith Urban and who this CenturyLink Center, which is where they have concerts. They wanted me to do a piece for Keith Urban's birthday, and they were like, "But this is our budget." And I'm like, "It don't matter your budget, baby. If I'm doing a piece for Keith Urban, I'm doing a piece." So I went to all these junkyards. I got all these Harley pieces, and I made this huge, huge light up piece that was so symbolic for him.
That is so cool.
And so when I was asked to do the Mardi Gras poster in DC, I'm like, are they not ready for this one? This is going to be. So I made friends with like the Queen's family from here. And next thing I know, I'm loading up this 5 by 8 foot box of this huge 3-dimensional Mardi Gras piece going to DC in a FedEx truck. And it was big.
Oh my God.
It's just like cool. People are going to take pictures next. I knew what I was, I wanted it to be very special. And, they had a little budget for that. And I'm like, it don't matter the budget. And I've always been like that. So, I've always kind of, in school, it's like, oh, there's a project due and I'd stay up all night to do 4 of them. I just enjoy it, And
when I bought a piece from you a couple years ago and you gave me this book, The Artist's Way.
I gave you a book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. I always give those out.
I know you do. And you give those out to everyone. And I think it's so cool. I have it right on my table. I write every day. I do it.
I don't give them out enough.
Well, they're hard to find, first off.
Because I buy them all.
Well, there's that. How'd you find that book?
I was living in Pennsylvania in 2006, which is is that 15 years ago? Mm-hmm. And I was really at a place, not as bad as where I was on my knees for the hurricane and the confusion. And I was by myself in Pennsylvania. I was snowed in, and I called one of my friends that I'd met at a Renaissance fair, and I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. And she's like, get this book. And I got it. And it was almost like when God brings you to your knees, it's it's to pray.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like that. And I started doing this book, and I just trusted it. I would take myself to an artist date. I would start writing every morning. I would start doing these like stream of consciousness, not reading it. And I was just doing these week by week things. And I started writing them. My rent was $300. I was staying in this place. I had taken pictures of the walls, all this lady's pictures. It was a fully furnished little townhouse. I took pictures of her walls. I took them all down, and I made it a studio. When she'd come visit, I'd put the pictures back up. You know what I'm saying? I had two rolls of canvas on her carpet, and I'd just make a mess. And when she'd come back, I'd fold it back up and it's her place again. I remember doing the artist way because I was writing on this side, and on the left side, I had this copper plate of this fleur de lis, and I'm from Louisiana, so didn't really mean, it was like passing a fire hydrant that you don't even notice. You don't even notice it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was writing about it. I was doing this engraving of this Florentine fleur de lis because this lady wanted me to do something that was from her grave, her family's coat of arms.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted 12 prints, and she wanted to buy the copper plate. And I'm like, fine, this will pay my rent. Fair enough, take it. So I did it, I was carving it. And on this side, from the artist way, I was writing, I'd like to create a body of work that's going to reach the masses. I'd like to figure out what exactly I need to do to connect art and just to really, and I was just kept writing and writing, stream of consciousness, the artist way. And then I called this lady. I'm like, man, it's rude, rude. No, I didn't take a deposit. And there it was. I was creating a body of work that never got sold. And I was writing about it from the artist way. And I came home, and
you're known for your fleur de lis. That's your signature, one of your signature things that you do now. So how incredible is that?
Yeah, that's really the power of God's prayer. And she talks about that in the book. I actually went and saw Julia Cameron a couple years ago in Santa Fe. But yeah, it's a great book.
That's cool. I think it kind of cracked something open in you, because look at all of the things that have come to you in your life. Those aren't accidents, there's something inside of you that's calling that experience or that commission or that whatever it is into your life.
Yeah, and I never finished the 10 weeks. I never finished it. Like, I moved, and then I hit the ground running, and it was like, boom. I was like, Michael, if you don't come over here and help me print these fleur de lis, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I didn't even have time to finish this artist way. And I've kind of made a commitment lately to.
Maybe you got as far as you needed to go, because look at your body of work. Look at everything you've created and manifested just from that stream of consciousness, that
Yeah, but there's something bigger now than reaching the masses, because I've done that through the art, and now I've kind of done that through technology. And, I can send out a massive text right now that'll reach 6,000 people.
I know. It's incredible. Your social media following is huge. I think it probably grew even more when you went through the hurricane and you were being so authentic and raw and kind of documenting your journey of recovery through that. And
I deleted those videos. I deleted them. I just got really insecure about them. I'm like, man,
really? They touched so many people.
Wow. And I still have them, but I deleted them off
the platform.
Somebody told me, they're like, oh, you seem kind of crazy. You seem kind of bipolar. And I'm just like, man, this is me, That
was where you were. And who are they to judge? They weren't in your shoes,
Or even here. So, yeah.
So what's next for you? Well, first of all, you said you're working with all different kinds of products and new paints and things like that. You want to talk a little bit about that? Like, you kind of want to encourage people to start being creative and using some of these.
Yeah, well, I have a 5,000 square foot studio, and I kind of want it to be that can be intimidating, for people who want to tap into their creative. Like, don't try to be like me, because but necessarily, if I can inspire, then take what I've kind of, take the best ingredients, and this is all you need. I got a little $100 printer that's no ink, and I've got a $10 set of watercolor, $30 set of watercolors, and I always forget my pencil. always forget my pencil. So I have a pen. So it's like, okay, you got to get this line down right. You forgot your pencil again. And so that's really all I need. And there's a photo that I posted. I think it may be on one of my homepage profile shots, but I did a aerial view of just the basics, the sketchbook, the glue, the Mod Podge, just these simple brands, Scotch tape and scissors. And, and after we get off of here, I'm going to, fold down the seats of that Jeep and make it kind of a Jeep van so that I can crawl up
You
places.
become a wanderer. You're going to start going on adventures and.
Yeah, bring my solar shower. My salon or my stylist friend was like, you might not have cold water. I said, girl, I got a black bag in the sun. This thing will get too hot. I know I've done it before.
That's all you need. So what direction are you going now? Sounds like you've got some plans. You're retrofitting your Jeep or something, right?
Yeah, and I have an RV too, and I'm just so intimidated to pull the Jeep behind the RV, but I do have a tow bar that I could do that. But I think, right now I kind of want to go spend some time with my dad. I'd like to get we've been talking about these hydro turbines and energy just from the water. And, he's kind of up north a little bit. So, that's kind of what in the present is where I'm going. And then who knows? But I'd like to maybe have a mimosa and draw a rice field. That sounds great to me.
Maybe you can have both. You can have time with your dad and a mimosa.
Or ride a horse and get off and draw the landscape. I mean,
that'd be cool.
Simple, very simple, and
yeah,
and then make just collect the stories on the page and then release them and not worry about how I've hustled for the last 12, 13, 20 years, and just kind of see where that mindset takes me and not hustle so hard, but
yeah,
I go in.
There's definitely a power, Candice, in creating from just being.
Yeah.
That's a very powerful place.
Yeah. Andy Goldsworthy is an artist who went out in nature that did that. And he'd create these leaf mandalas and then the wind would take.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I can't wait to see what's next. What you create from that space.
It won't be coming from a huge studio, possibly. It would be coming from a backpack with supplies.
I don't think that matters.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like, and I'm kind of I feel like every time I do one, they get a little better. So they're getting there. The little sketch.
Just taking time for yourself after all of this you've been through, and just having that space and quiet, and not having that long to-do list chasing you down all the time is going to really be good for you.
Yeah, I don't want to lick a stamp. I'm saying, like, just like.
Man. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so awesome.
Yeah, you too.
Spending some time.
I've been manifesting a podcast in my house, and
it's funny that here it is, but it's so funny because how I get my guests is names just come to me. They just drop in. I just get names of people that come to me, and then I reach out and go, hey, would you be interested in being on my show? And I swear it's always worked out that way, and it was meant to be. So I thank you for saying yes.
Yeah, and if you want, I'm sure there are clients and stuff who are just kind of curious, because if this is, at this point, I just want to share maybe process and story of why people may be connected to my art. So I can share however you put this, or Vimeo. I don't know what kind of link, but I can definitely share it with whoever, and just if they like it, they can find you again too. So
yeah, sure, for sure. I'll send you the link for sure, and once I get it up. And anybody who wants to check out Candice's art, it's CandiceAlexander.com, and it's spelled CANDICE Alexander.
Ice.
Yesterday, I don't know. Sometimes my mind wanders off in the corner, and Candice, I kept sending this link to her, CandiceAlexander.com, misspelling her name consistently multiple times. I'm sure you're like, what is up with this?
Probably need to just get that email address. Just have Candace and Candice. Why would my mom do that to me? You know,
I figured it out eventually.
my first grade teacher used to call me that. He could spell my name like that. I'm like, oh yeah. Big
I
deal.
finally
Yeah.
figured it out, people. I got my wits about me and figured it out. But it's Candice with an I, Alexander.com. Check out her artwork. To my audience, thank you all for joining us here. Candice, hang out for a second when we get off.
And I also have a like a little alert list that if people do want to see things like this or kind of like personal parts, I have a text list. If they text 313131 with Candice, Candice, and the subject, they will be on this mass list of like new releases, new stories, new podcasts. So that's also another
Yeah,
thing.
she has. I'm on the list. She sends out a lot of good content.
You're on the list?
I'm on the list. I get your texts.
Yeah, cool.
So check it out, y'all. Have a great day. Be kind to yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.